Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum. Straight talk about you and your money. Now from the BizTalk studios, here is Gary Kaltbaum.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. I'm Gary Kaltbaum, your host. Hey, thanks for being with us today. Glad you're here, ladies and gentlemen. Happy that you are listening. It's Thursday, April 25th, 2024. And we've got lots to cover today. It's been one of those days where a lot's going on. And I must tell you, regardless what we tell you about what happened today, after the close, which comes up in a couple of minutes, we'll have Microsoft and Google. Microsoft is the biggest weighting in the NASDAQ 100. By the way, it was down $20 early in the day and finished down around $9. I have no clue why. We'll have Capital One, Intel, KLA-10 Core, Skechers, Scott, a bunch of names. And, of course, yesterday, while we were doing the show, there was one big, gigantic blow-up in Meta, which was the old Facebook, and I still do not know why they continue to call it. They should just go back to calling it Facebook. But if I was to tell you the indices were down markedly today, a pretty darn good number, but tell you it was actually a good day, I don't want to ask, would you believe me? I would just say to you, you should believe me. You see, you can have we're going right into markets, by the way, then I'll introduce ourselves in a little bit. You can have bad days in the market, but you could have days where they were much, much worse. And what we call those days, we call them defense days. It's the days where we're down so much because whatever reason, and they just finish up well. Let me give you the example. And of course, as we said, Microsoft and Google are going to report soon. For starters, Facebook, Meta, closed down $52 today at $440. Meta, at one time today, hit a low of $414, so it was actually about, $27 off the lows, but still down a lot. It hit the lows actually in the first 5 minutes of the day, and I'm actually not sure if it actually hit the 414. Yeah, maybe on an real quick initial drop, it did that. And what that did was hurt the market. And we walked in, and for the record, today at one time, the NASDAQ was 15,343. The NASDAQ. But closed at 15,611. Still down 100. That means we were down 366 NASDAQ points and only finished down 100. 257, 268, 368. That's huge to come off that floor. The NASDAQ 100 hit 17,172 and closed at 17,433. It was down 353 and only finished down, well, I got about 96 at the close. The Dow today, if I told you, finished down 375 whopping points. That's a bad day. But the Dow at one time today hit 37,754. it was down over 700 points. So we're going to call it a defense day as we go into tomorrow with Google and Microsoft. And we have seen gaps to the downside now of Facebook, Netflix. Little gap to the upside on Tesla. And now we'll get Google and Microsoft and see what the market has to give. And guess what? We're now getting the opposite. Microsoft's up $21 in the aftermarket, 12 for the day. After being, I don't know why it was down 20 early. And by the way, this can move. Google in the aftermarket, I've got it, was down 3 today. It's up 14 in the aftermarket. So as bad as it was early today on the open, it'll possibly as good it will be tomorrow on the open for technology, because big tech moves the markets in crazed ways. In fact, as I speak now, the NASDAQ 100 is actually up for the day with these two stocks, because what they will do is they will move markets. You will have some semis up. You'll just have tech up. Amazon has not reported after the close today. They got it up $7 in the aftermarket after being down almost 4 today. So the insane asylum of mega caps giveth, taketh away, giveth, taketh away, and giveth again in the aftermarket. I don't have the exact numbers, by the way, as we speak. Google in particular is up 17 in the aftermarket. That's 11% for a gargantuan company. So we came here to report to you what a crappy day today, but a great defense day. And the NASDAQ will be strong tomorrow morning. The Dow's up a little bit in the aftermarket. And there's your story. And there it is. These mega caps are so huge. If Microsoft and Google, Alphabet, would have gapped down, it would have been a whole nother story. So 2 stocks changing the playing field from one stock that changed the playing field today. Now we got others in the aftermarket that are coming out. I'll let you know when that occurs. But those are the 2 big matzo balls that reported. And again, I don't have the numbers just yet. Microsoft beat, I do. Microsoft beat by a little. Google beat pretty decently. I'll give it that. Intel missed by a mile. But Intel doesn't matter anymore. They're not what they used to be. Years ago, if Intel reported bad, the market got trounced. Intel's getting whacked in the aftermarket. Market couldn't care less. So there you go. This is how we start the show. A crappy day early. A good defense, even though down decently. And a couple of stocks moving the needle in the aftermarket. And I got Western Digital down $7 also. And nobody cares about that one either. It's all about, what do they say, ladies and gentlemen? It's all about the size. Amazingly, $31 move in Microsoft from the low today to what the aftermarket is right now. I want you to think about that. A $31 move on a Microsoft, which is the equivalent of $240 billion. No, we're not making that up. Welcome to our world. We'll see how the night goes. We'll see what they have to say. I'm noticing some things in the aftermarket. Oh, they're talking AI. So that means NVIDIA is up $16 in the aftermarket also. Happy days. Artificial intelligence. So there you have it. We didn't know what we were going to say because we did not know what the aftermarket would be. And frankly, we still don't know how it's going to play out overnight. But a really good move in Google and Microsoft. Google will open up at an all-time high. Microsoft shall not. Microsoft will open in the middle of, let's call it 3 or 4 months range, but definitely better, as they were just scorching that sucker today. Okay. Up next, the introductions and whatever else. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Hi, I'm Gary Kaltbaum, host of the nationally syndicated radio show Investor's Edge. We're not just handsome radio people. We manage investors' money for a living, specializing in fee-based discretionary money management. No big commissions, just a fee on the assets that's managed. We also provide a full range of personalized services, including retirement planning, fixed income, and educational needs, all to assist you in achieving your financial goals. Understanding not all individuals have the same needs, we'll carefully evaluate your personal goals to determine a proper investment strategy. If your current approach to investing is not getting you to where you would like to be, call us to make an appointment for a complimentary portfolio review. The number to call is 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. That's 888-422-5559. Investment advisory services offered through Kaltbaum Capital Management.
It's time to switch on the integrator units and get the brain cells working.
You're listening to
Hey, this promises to be fun.
Investor's Edge
The last bastion of quality programming.
with Gary Kaltbaum.
It doesn't get better than this.
And welcome once again to Investor's Edge. Thanks for being with us today. We thank you for being here. In case you don't know, this is a show about everything that affects you. We will do the economy and markets and jobs and your industry and what they're doing in D.C. and all the nonsense, the maniacal nonsense, and I say that with no joy. And quite seriously, we do it. And we do it with no bias, no agenda, no ulterior motive. Very simply, the only motive we have is we the people, not them. We never used to talk about them, and then we realized they started getting involved in ways we could not believe they would be getting involved with debt, deficit spending, corruption, insider trading, and all the worst things you can think of they are doing. And you're seeing it in real time. And we'll keep covering it. And if you do not get this radio show in your city, we will post it at GaryK.com. We'll also post it at our Twitter feed, which is now X. And if you don't follow us on Twitter, you may want to. We'll let you decide that. And if you'd like to email me, just be nice. Unlike, we got an email today, and we like covering the nasty emails, and we don't get many anymore. A guy emailed me and said, I suck. He said, I suck. Because I put down, as he said, the Trumpster, and I've been praising George Soros. Now, even though I've only praised George Soros for his stock-picking acumen, he came out this email and said that George Soros is destroying the country with his money and stuff and giving it out to this, that, and the other thing. I don't disagree with that. I think George Soros is killing a bunch of cities by elections for DAs that just continue to coddle the criminals. I completely agree with that. But we disagree on Trump, and as usual, I was respectful of this person. He was very disrespectful to me. He said I sucked. And he said I sucked twice. And he also said I would never say these things on Fox. As you know, I'm a Fox News business contributor, but that's not true. Just so you know, I've been on Fox News business contributor for a very long time. They have never told me what to say. They've never told me what not to say. They have never given me a script to do. They always let me freeform any opinion I have, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, and whether it's on an R or a D. So there you have it. I don't suck. And that is all. It's amazing people would email you and say you suck. Really? That's what you got? You suck? Yeah, you suck. All right. Back on markets. I don't know what to tell you. We're in earnings season, and it's all over the map. Just by the aftermarket yesterday and today, you're getting a lot of index movement by just a few names because they are so big to the indices. Let me just give you an example of something here. I am going to Google the words NASDAQ 100 makeup. And we have a problem with this, but they're never going to change it. They've changed it a little bit recently because it really got bad overweighted. But for instance, Microsoft, Apple, NVIDIA, Amazon, Meta, Broadcom, and Google. That's the top 7 names. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? They are 5.4, 10, 15, 20, 26, 33, 34, 43%. 7 names are 43% of the NASDAQ 100. Well, 93 names are 57%. That's so insane. What if those 7 names go by the wayside? And we know Apple's been weak. Tesla's been very weak. It's had a better couple of days, though, Tesla, on crappy earnings and sales, but some promises out of what's-his-face. Netflix is also 2%. Costco's 2%. So that's why they move so crazy and has so much influence. We believe that it's too much, but they don't care what we believe, and away they go. And that's why you're getting 1% and 2% moves in hours and in aftermarkets of these things. But hey, our job is just to stay on top of them and see what's best and see how it goes. So the good news is a crappy open today. All day today I was calling it defense. Even though we still finished down 375 and 100, tomorrow we'll open up with some offense. And I gather tech will open pretty good tomorrow in sympathy off of it. Microsoft is, just so you know, is only up 2% and change with the aftermarket today after being down, but up 18 from the close. And Google now, I have it up 17 today, about 10% on the day after being down. And with the influence, Amazon's on the move and a few other AI things going on. So that's basically the story, and that's terrific. We like markets going up. We like things that we can do. We hate bear markets. Actually, I take that back. We actually like bear markets because they set the stage for new bull markets. But overall, we'd rather have markets go up. That's the fun part. Sitting around doing nothing is not the fun part. So we'll see what happens. I also got KLA 10 Core reported. Oh, let's see how bad these numbers are. Because it's up in the aftermarket. Yeah, earnings were down single digits. The stock is up, actually only up $3 in the aftermarket. But it was down 15 today. I think. I don't know what, you know what? They're showing a big spread in it, so I actually cannot tell what it's doing in the aftermarket right now. So we're going to hold off on KLA 10 Core. But good open tomorrow with mega cap names, and we'll see what comes of it. We've owned Microsoft in the past, and boy, oh boy, the charts, you know what they're going to look like tomorrow? Like a 3-year-old with a crayon. Like a 3-year-old with a crayon scribbling on a piece of paper. all over the map, as they say. Again, we'll come into tomorrow and see how it goes, actually see how they finish it up. Overall, we already did our scans of the day. There's been a lot of deterioration. Major averages are trading below the 50-day moving average. Another not a great advanced decline day, even though we call it a defense day today. But let's see how the week ends up. I think tomorrow will be of import, and we'll see what comes of it, which takes me next to gold. When you have a chance, GLD, we just want you to notice it held so far. Doesn't mean it doesn't break it tomorrow. The 21-day moving average. And up next, we'll go through that and what we mean by it. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
Listening to
America is talking.
Investor's Edge.
He's got to be pleased with that. The crowd is just on its feet here. He's a Cinderella boy.
With Gary Kaltbaum.
Comes highly recommended. You're going to feel better if you talk to him.
Okay. So we're in gold. We're not in the gold miners, personally. But something may have changed today on the gold miners. See, the gold miners are ETFs that contain the stocks. And the biggest institutional name, Newmont Mining, has been acting terribly for a very long time. And on a relative base, I mean, it's still way down. From June of 22, it's down from 86 at 40, and it's now 43. It's down 50%. But really good reaction to earnings today. And breaking above, I'm going to call it about 8 months of resistance. If Newmont Mining gets going, I gather the gold miners ETF, the GDX, you may want to look at it. The junior gold miners, I guess the smaller ones, GDXJ, but GDX is the big. And that's the one we would always recommend if we were doing. So just letting you know, the gold miners also have to mention, on not the good side, the 10-year yield, 4.706 today. 4.706, and finished above another little stair step. So let me do some splaining. Every tick up in yields, the cost of capital to you, all the way up to food chain, to every major corporation, goes up. When they float bonds, they pay more out. When the government has to float bonds, they have to pay more. Thus, we're paying over $1 trillion a year in just interest on the debt the criminals in Washington, D.C. have created. Another stair step today. What else it does? I hate talking about them, but they actually do matter a little bit. Our central bankers. They are out, and by the way, we would say it to their face, and we feel like we always have to say we would say it to their face, because when you're putting somebody down at their job, you want to be upfront. But they have been wrong on everything. We started highlighting Jay Powell lowering rates because the market was going down, which is always the wrong thing to do. You're not supposed to be a central banker and worried about a stock market. And then when the stock market didn't cooperate months later, he started printing money right before COVID. And then he printed to $9 trillion. And what did he do? Well, he helped you with your mortgages and screwed you as savers, which has now created another distortion And that is, nobody wants to trade in their 3% mortgages for now what's above 7%. And you can't blame them. And all anybody needs to do is get an amortization table on $500,000 over 30 years and see what the payments are, a 3% versus a 7%, and how much more you're paying in interest over the life. It is gargantuan. That's all from Jay Powell. And then we told you he created the inflation. It was him. Even though everybody wants to blame Biden on that because it's easier to blame an elected official. Biden just put fuel on the kerosene on the fire with his asinine, ass 10, ass 11 spending. But the central bankers still matter, unfortunately, even though they suck. And have been part of all this massive deficits, even though they don't create it, but they enable it with the low rates and never saying a damn thing. So all the talk is about our central bank lowering their rates. The problem is, if the real market rates keep going up, their ability to lower rates comes down. Their ability. Why? Because the free market, the real market, matters a lot more than them. They only mattered when they printed to $9 trillion. They only mattered at that point in time. They're usually nothing, and they really should be nothing. It should be us, the economy, we, the people, the economy, not them. I keep hearing, we engineered inflation. No, they don't engineer anything except damage. We engineer soft land. They don't engineer soft landings. It's 150 million people going to work every day to do better for themselves and families. That are the economy and create the great. They don't create squat. But they still matter. And if interest rates, the real market, keep going up, the thought process is there's no way they can lower rates, and due to the fact markets love lower rates from the central, you get my point. So the hand would be forced into not. And God forbid, I hate saying the words God forbid, let's hope that the 10-year yield, which is now above 4.7, doesn't head towards 5.5, which is them, or higher. Because then it would be telling them they screwed up again. And it would be telling, they would not be listening, that Biden's massive, unimaginable, sickening, disgusting, over-the-top takeover of this country with $2 to $3 trillion in deficits, $2 to $3 trillion of yearly deficits, and an increase of the size in government from $4.4 trillion the year before COVID to the mid-sevens. It's about as sickening can be. I can't begin to tell you what a sickening, disgusting thing he is doing to us and the long-term health of this country. And that's the reason, which is even worse, he's coming at us. He wants a 45% long-term capital gains and a wealth tax on if you make too much money. He keeps saying he's not against the wealthy. He hates the wealthy. He loathes the wealthy. He wants to kick the wealthy in the grapefruits. He proves it every single day. That's what Marxists are about. They loathe success. They loathe greatness because successful people do not need control freaks and Marxists and people like Sanders and Maduro in Venezuela and Castro in Cuba. Yes, I'm putting him economically in the same sentence with those names, because what did those people do? They took over the economy. And that's what this guy's doing. or at least trying to. I am praying the Republicans, if he ends up winning again, just keep the House or the Senate and get the Senate so none of his crap can go through. Because if he gets long-term capital gains in and a wealth tax in, I can't imagine what's going to happen economically. You're already seeing from some of their sickness in their rules what's happened. California, people are getting fired left and right because of the decision to raise to $20 a day, $20 an hour for fast food restaurants. It's insanity. These people have never run a business, never have to meet payroll. Nothing. Yet, they're dictating all this policy to the business world? They're nuts. We cannot have another 4 years of Joe Biden's border and Joe Biden's debt and deficits and growth of the economy. We will not be able to stand another 4 years of this illness. You know what that means. But I mean that. And as I have said to you, you don't feel it because right now you don't see it coming out of your bank account. If you did, he could not get away with using your tax dollars to relieve other people's loans. But he's doing it. Hey, up next, what else is going on? And an update on Microsoft and Google. I'm Gary. This is the one and only Investor's Edge.
You're listening to...
What are we waiting for?
Well, what are you waiting for? 1, 2, ready, go.
Action!
Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum.
Okay. So it's still a good aftermarket, but Microsoft, which was at 423 in the aftermarket, is now only 414. But it's up 5 and change for today, including the aftermarket. Remember, Microsoft was down 20 on the open today, finished down 10, so it still is up about $15 in the aftermarket. And that's good. But it will just be back at the 50-day moving average and in the midst of about 3 or 4 months of range. Google, let's see, did hit 179 in the aftermarket. I got it at 174 now, so that's coming back a little bit too. No biggie. The good news is the NASDAQ 100 with these moves is up about 1% in the aftermarket, which is a good 1% considering today. And we'll see what happens tomorrow. KLA 10 core, I now have, I think it's up about $10 in the aftermarket to 670, about 682, 684, somewhere in there, on another drop in sales because that's what happens with these things. And there's a few others, but I'm going to bypass them for right now. Let me see if there's anything else I can do quite quickly. Roku, SkyWest. I'm just not seeing any movement in here. Snapchat always gaps down. Actually, Snap is up. Finally is up 24% in the aftermarket to 1420. Keep in mind, it's going to open at 1420. The stock hit a high of only 84 in 2021. Yeah, think long term. So we're going to have a good open tomorrow. I gather we'll see some sympathy moves also. And good to see because I got to tell you, Today was gross. But good defense. It was a good defense day with the Dow down 375. While the NASDAQ's lighting up like a pinball machine, the Dow's up about 50 points in the aftermarket. Oh, Microsoft. That would be about 40 points in the aftermarket also. And that's the story, ladies and gentlemen. Wild swings led by quite the few names. And as I speak, because I'm ambidextrous, I'm going through some other names also. Other news. As I said, this capital gains, whatever is the biggest capital gains tax in 100 years. This man is an by the way, I hate using these words, but he's an economic psycho. He really is an economic control freak, an economic con artist. Spend the hell out of us, abuse the taxpayer, go ape crap with our money, and when you don't have enough, spend 2 to 3 trillion more, and then go after the wealthy and successful that already pay a lot more than their fair share. And I repeat, I'd say it to his face, and I'd have no problem doing it. In the news, interesting. At least 13 banks may have worked with the feds to spy on transactions of people that were religious Trump supporters or pro-gun. What the hell country do we live in? At least 13 financial institutions are being investigated by Republicans in Congress for colluding with the federal government to spy on Americans. Let's see, are they going to spy on these stupid creeps that are protesting now at the colleges and wishing the death of Jews? I'm interested in finding out if this actually happened. It's saying the Biden administration worked with banks to come through what they called extremism indicators, like the purchase, get this, of religious text like a Bible, or searches including the terms Trump or MAGA. If this is true, now go impeach Biden. Now go and impeach him. If this is true. Spying on Americans? And you wonder why I'm pissed. The worst, we cannot have another 4 years. And I don't really want to be the advocate. We can't have another 4 years of his border and his economy, his debt and deficits. And remember, this show is about simply you and everything that affects you and your wallet and your job and your money and the markets. And this dude is going to be like, you ever see the movie The Blob? Go look up the story of The Blob. This is the complete and utter trying to take over everything with rules, regulations, fees, fines, mandates, taxes, and they don't give a crap that the fact that Florida is running a surplus with low taxes, but California is running gargantuan deficits with gargantuan taxes. They don't care. They want control. And that's how they do it. And they use the line, we're doing it for you, and we care about you. They couldn't give a crap about you. It is the solidification of power, and it's got to be stopped. And you do it by a controlled border and low taxes for all. And what high taxes and ridiculously high taxes on the wealthy and successful, it is not going to hurt the already wealthy and successful. It'll prevent you from being wealthy and successful, because every time you move up the rung, he is there with his machete, cutting you off at the knees. It's classic. You can look at the rules of the road of socialists and Marxists. And the man is classic, and we're going to continue to cover it in every way, shape, or form. Until then, hey, we'll have a good open tomorrow. Yay! Have a good evening. Drive carefully. I should be on with Neil Cavuto tomorrow. I think he's out this week. It'll be with somebody else. Noon hour. Check that out. And when you get home, do like we do. Quite simple. Make sure you hug your family. Make sure you hug your children. They will feel better. You will feel better. I promise. Thanks for being with us today. And thanks for putting up with my crazy. But it's about you. Have a great one. Peace out all. Bye-bye.
This has been Investor's Edge with Gary Kaltbaum on BizTalk. To listen to past episodes or to get in contact with Gary, go to GaryK.com. That's GaryK.com.